not talking all business when we're at, doing family things, but sometimes there's gossip or whatever it might be
Of
that
course.
it comes up, but
Well, that's awesome. I think you made a really good point. You guys built that, foundation prior. So at this point, it was just icing on the cake. It was just sprinkles that now we're working together. You have a family, connection now, which really solidifies everything. And I'm glad that it's made rock, paper, coin like even stronger. I think that's amazing. So we talked a little bit about like a big trend that was happening in the wedding industry, and it was kind of a lack thereof. How's it going now? Is there a big wedding boom now that everybody's like excited to get out and actually marry their partner?
yeah, it's like chaos, but in the best way. And it's a boom. Like everyone keeps saying the wedding boom, the wedding boom. It's a boom because all of the 2020 couples are now getting married. So most of their services have already been paid for at this point. It's just the execution. So like we're not making twice as much money as we normally would. It's just there was a year where we didn't do all that much. So all the postponements happened this year. And then there were all the weddings that were already scheduled to happen this year. And then there were a lot of just like last minute proposals. People were like, screw it. We've lived through this. We're stronger than ever. Let's do it. And let's do it fast because things were constantly changing. And I think that was the most difficult part. There was two. So the first was that we're the solvers as the wedding planner. Like if there's a problem, is we're instantly looking for a solution. We're not freaking out. We're not panicking. Like our minds instantly start trying to figure out a solution. Well, we couldn't do that with COVID. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know when the world would open up, and our clients were looking to us for answers. And it was just like, I don't know. Like I thought it was going to be a couple weeks, just like everybody else. And, a couple of years later, we're still doing.
Right.
So that was a challenge. And then all of these mandates, especially in the Pacific Northwest, were constantly changing. So there was a wedding, like I did a wedding last May. We planned it 5 separate times, different venues, different days, and then 2 weeks before the wedding, our venue decided that they didn't want to do it. We had to move everything. This like 300 person amazing wedding. Actually, it wasn't. Originally, it was 300 people. I think it was like 120 because of the number mandates. So,
right.
So these poor planners are just like going crazy. And then another thing that was interesting this summer is that or maybe it was just me. I assumed that after COVID and after working with their planners so long, that clients would be really like thankful and gracious and understanding and patient. It was the opposite. Like we had some of the most horrible client experiences this summer, just people treating their planners really poorly, expecting like a return text at 10 o'clock at night. Like you'd never treat somebody this way. So we're definitely starting to set a lot of new boundaries. And I've told my planners, if anyone is disrespecting you at any point, that's not your job. It's not worth it. We will absolutely cut ties with that client. And if it means a bad review, it means a bad review, but people can't treat you that way. And the way it typically works when that happens is, people will push until you say stop. So if you keep responding to those text messages at 10 o'clock, they're still going to send them until you say, I'll respond during business hours, or don't respond at all and just do it the next day. There's something about what we do where we become so close with our clients that they forget that it's a business, and, we're not your maid. We're not available to you 24/7. So there have been a lot of changes, a lot of new contract blurbs and things like that we've learned along the way.
I'm so glad. And unfortunately, I think anybody involved on planning a person's wedding day has to be part therapist, because it is such an emotional event, right? However, love the fact that we're setting boundaries, because you're right, it is still a business. And yes, you are there to support them and make it the most magical day ever. But please do not bite the hand that feeds you, y'all. You need your event planners to think happy thoughts so that they can make the magic happen. I completely agree.
And COVID, like pre-COVID, post-COVID, whatever, it's an emotional experience. So we are definitely part planner. Get asked if we have to deal with bridezillas, and typically we don't, because we're taking all of the stress away and doing all the dirty work. But if there is like kind of a difficult bride or groom, or mom, it's usually because there's some sort of family issue going on in the background. And so that's when they kind of lose it. Usually guest list related, or so-and-so did this, or a bridesmaid is being difficult. I don't know. There's all kinds of drama.
I'm sure you've seen it all as well. And I'm sure that's for like a nighttime podcast where we bring in the crew and say the weddings we survived.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to hear all those stories.
Yes.
So what other parts about being an event planner aren't so glamorous, but are so rewarding?
There's a lot that isn't glamorous. We hire assistants every summer to help us on site, and they all come in. They're usually college age, or, young and bright-eyed and excited movies, or they've seen the show. And then they're like, oh, that's not what I thought. Like you are schlepping stuff. You are getting there early. You're leaving really late. Sometimes people aren't very nice to you. It's really hard work, but it is, like you said, 100% rewarding, especially when you've gotten to know this couple so well. And my favorite part is when they walk into their reception for the first time. So we usually have them come in before guests so they can see it all before it's been touched. And like the ground, and the girl starts crying, and they're just like so happy. It's the best feeling. And just like seeing them throughout the night, and they're just having the time of their lives. And it's such a special moment. It's like one of the only times that you're going to be surrounded by all of these people that love you so much.
Right.
So it is very rewarding. And I don't know, like we have a lot of couples now where we mostly plan with just the couple, whereas even 10 years ago, lots of moms were involved. So it's a little bit of a different experience, but when the moms were involved, we would kind of have to play middleman every once in a while and give her jobs to kind of, get her off the bride's back and things like that. So it is also I enjoy that part, like keeping the peace and making sure everyone's happy, and checking in with mom at the reception, making sure her wine glass is full, things like that. And we try to stay in the background. Like we don't want everyone to know we're the wedding planner, like prancing around with our headset. It's definitely in the background, but every once in a while, actually more than every once in a while, but people will thank us during their toasts, which is like so sweet and unnecessary, but it's great advertising.
It really it sure is, baby. Ding, ding, ding.
I like in this huge moment in their life, and they've taken time out to thank their planner. That's typically the kind of people we work with, really kind and gracious and thankful. So it's just great to get to know our clients. Some of my closest friends to this day are past clients of mine. So I love it. It's super fun.
I think that's amazing. And like you said, it's all about the reward at the end and knowing you were such a staple in that day. So what is some of the best marriage advice you've ever heard or seen? Because you've been a part of so many weddings. You've seen it all. You've seen the bridezillas. You've seen the amazing ones. What's the best marriage advice you've ever received or seen or heard?
So marriage advice or wedding advice?
Let's do both.
Okay. So wedding advice, a lot of nobody's going to notice except for you. And if like something is a little bit off, they'll get really upset by it. So like, don't do that to yourself. Just enjoy the day. Something will probably go wrong, and typically we'll deal with it. Nobody will know the difference, but sometimes not. So just, you have to remember why you're there. It's not to make sure your place settings look perfect, even though like we want that. It's because you're getting married. So you have to like step back and remember that's what it's all about. You know, especially when there's family stuff going on in the background throughout planning, people get super stressed and it's like a whole thing.